All right. So what we're going to be talking about today is what moves the needle. And before we jump into that, we just a heads up, folks. There's some funkiness. I'm going to do my damnedest to get your comments up here. We're like this whole experience lives because of your thoughts, your questions, your perspective. But StreamYard has some wonkiness, so some comments don't make it through, particularly on LinkedIn. On YouTube, it seems like all the comments that are made via YouTube, if you're watching us through YouTube, they come through. That's not to say go to YouTube. It's just what I really just want you to know is I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see your stuff come through. And I don't want to offend you or make you feel left out in any way. Afterwards, I will go through and interact. And I think Maya is one who she's always super engaged and commenting. Rocio is another one, but it doesn't come through for whatever technical reason. So I appreciate y'all. Bottom line, I appreciate y'all, and I want y'all to know that I appreciate you. And so what is this? What moves the needle thing?
Well, I'm going to say like two pieces. I'm going to let you talk about part of it. One of it is, if you don't know, we do an after party after every live stream. So we call it the No BS after party, and Jesse will share the links before the live stream finishes. And it's kind of a way. So this one, we're on the stage. You see our faces. We do a lot more talking, and we try to pull in your comments. In the after party, we try to not so much talk, and we allow you to talk. So it's a audio event where you can join and jump on the stage, and you can, give us your feedback and takeaways from the live stream. But also those conversations always go deeper, because it's not just you and I talking, it's other people, and they're sharing their experiences. They're sharing sometimes, being very vulnerable, sharing a lot of things that are going on in their lives. And this topic of our professional weaknesses and our things in our workplace and how we address those and how they sometimes can hinder us from, being able to advance and stuff like that came from one of our after parties. So Sarah Ganella brought up a comment, and we kind of dug into it a little bit. And then it was like, hey, we should really dig into this weaknesses piece and kind of what sometimes holds us back. So
that's what yes. So the idea, and I'm going to give blame to Sarah, Miss Sarah Ganella from Free Joe Badass Self, because she really dove into it. And we're talking, she's a leader, and just like the rest of the tribe members, ballers, we lead teams, we lead pride. Everybody's got like tremendous responsibility. And we also like kind of lead at home, right? We lead in our communities and stuff. And the conversation was around, where do you focus your energy, right? Do you focus on reinforcing your strengths, or do you focus on closing the gap in your weaknesses? And it was a good, meaty conversation. I said, man, we got to do this with the tribe. So that is what we're going to do. Curious Idealist, Miss Angel says, YouTube, I think FTW means for the win. Not, okay. I think like my brain translated that different. And then we got my buddy, Austin Jones. So I've been Austin for a long time, coming in from Facebook land. What's up, Austin? Glad you're here, my man. Look, so on LinkedIn, there is a link even to sign up for this.
Nice.
Savannah in September. So boom, bam, do that. We got royalty in the house. Carol Del Vecchio. She says, good morning. Beautiful
good morning.
Oh man, they're starting to spill in. Mr. Daryl, what's up, Daryl? He's
completely understand.
So awesome. All right. So
have Carol and Steve connected? They're both in Connecticut.
Yeah, actually they've met in person.
Okay, awesson. That's
yeah. Have you met Steve in person?
No, not yet.
Did I tell you that I got to meet him in person?
Yes, we have photos of it. We know.
All right. So question to the tribe out there in the Omniverse. What are some of your weaknesses when it comes to engaging with people? And Jen, before the call, during the warm-up, when we were reviewing, double-checking, vetting the agenda. the agenda. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that. Can you like recap what that was?
Oh, no, not really, but I will. No, I think we're really most people in our space are out there leading things, and they're killing it. They're out there just, I mean, they're making changes, they're bettering our industry, and so it's really, I think it's easier for us even looking at other people to go, man, they're really good at these things.
Yeah.
I mean, they're killing these things. And I don't think we spend enough time because they're making changes and they're evolving and they're growing and they're cultivating and things like that. We don't spend a lot of time on yes, and are there opportunities for growth? Yes, and are there gaps that we can really lean into to help, help things get better? And I think that for us in our conversation beforehand is it's centered around control. And so most of us, because of our spaces and our roles and things like that, there is an element of control because it's, we have people that report to us or we have responsibilities. And also like we get to help, whatever those tasks are, whatever those responsibilities are for other people, we kind of help manage and lead those things. And that sense of control, which I know you say is an illusion. We kind of dug into that a little more, and I'll let you dig into that. But you say control is an illusion. And so I think for me, I've lived my whole life being with that control, like being able to control things. And it's not like to control people as much as being able to control the things around me. So that like that circle of control, the circle of influence, the circle of concern, all those things, like there are things that I'm like, I can control this. And it has, helped me. I've gotten where I'm at. It's, I've leaned into that, but I've also realized that I've left some things behind and I've I want to say hurt people, and I've maybe not allowed space and grace because of it. And I think now I'm doing a lot more reflection and a lot more like, how can I get better and how can I grow? And to do that, I kind of had to lean into some of those weaknesses that we're going to talk about today. And one of them is like letting go of some of that control. And when you do that and you back off and you like try not to dictate and manipulate everything, it opens up other things that weren't there before. So that's vague explanation so that we can let you talk.
So good. So good. Oh. And I shared this with you beforehand. Cindy Becerra sent me a little thing about, and it's like, I want to share this, but like as a warning, or maybe not a warning, but a reality. When you're going down these paths of awakening to build new skills and like grow yourself as an individual, we expect rainbows and gumdrops. That's not what it feels like. It's uncomfortable. It's clunky. It's weird. It's like be ready for some like real discomfort because you're in a new space. Like, as I change and adjust, I'll come back to the control thing, but as I change and adjust my behavior, the things and the people around me also, they're impacted by that. So they're changing and adjusting to that. I don't know how they're going to respond to it. And I also, what becomes like super, super obvious to me is how, what's the word? How restrictive my behavior has been on them being themselves. And so now they start like being a little bit more about them. Like, where did that come from? Oh, damn. Like they've been suppressing that because I'm a jerk. Oh, damn.
I control the airspace. And because I control it, it does not allow for other people to venture in.
Yeah, you got it, girl. So, all right, let's do some shout outs and we're going to come back.
Yes.
Miss Carol says she thought we were in twins.
Everybody thinks that.
And also, this is evidence that on YouTube the comments come through, because often Carol comments on the LinkedIn and her comments don't come through live. Yes. And Mia, another one, we got some people being vulnerable quick. Yes. Mia says, like, the weaknesses is her mood. Her mood can hold her back because she's naturally introverted. The chief marketeer says, my weakness when it comes to engaging with people, I'm already married. Only wanting that kind of engagement, Steve. Come on. That was awesome.
Don't forget Sarah, because we have to give her the shout out because she's the one the reason why we're even talking about this today.
Yep, Sarah. Good morning, No BS Tribe. So Sarah has like a whole framework and this and like magic stuff. And I mean, maybe that's an important thing to comment is there are systems, processes, resources out there to help us evaluate our strengths and weaknesses and build a team around us. And we'll come back to that at the end because part of the question is if I have all these weaknesses, does that make me an invalid? Does it make me less than? Right. Am I broken because I don't have strengths? Like I don't have every single strength.
Yes.
I'm going to say no, but sometimes,
no
right? So the control thing.
Yes.
I have always said control is an illusion.
Yes.
Right. And that was an idea that I had to adopt to maintain my sobriety because I tried to control everything, manipulate everything, cajole everything. And so to the question of what's my weakness, what are some of the weakness when it comes to engaging people? My weakness, I still deal with it, just not as pronounced, is wanting to, rather, I'll say it this way, is being able to see what people respond to most, being able to discern what they want from me or who they need me to be. And then I manipulate my behavior to get what I want from them. That's bad for me because it leads to my substance abuse. Because of this idea of control and the amount of energy that I have to put into controlling my tone, my words, my behavior, how they're feeling, constantly getting the feedback loop of like, oh, did I offend them? Are they excited? Am I making her smile? Like, and so I want to make what's the word? An amendment to this control thing, because it's not like things can be controlled. The illusion is this. The illusion is that control is permanent, and it's not, right? Like it's all, so folks out there in the Omniverse, do you have any control issues? And like, how much energy do you put into trying to control every single little thing around you, people's attitude, people's like, do you get disappointed when people aren't excited about something you think they should be excited about? That's an indicator. What I found is by releasing that, I have so much more energy to learn and grow and contribute into other people's lives. And my level of disappointment went from here all the way down to here because I wasn't trying to control things. So what do you think, Jen?
Well, yes. And I think what you just triggered for me is the why. Like, why do we do things? And I think I'm going to give an example is that I have really struggled with people that don't show appreciation. And that has been something for a long time, for a very long time. Because in my mind, like I do a lot of things for a lot of people, and and in my heart, I'm doing it for the right reasons. But whenever like I would get disappointed or I would get let down because the appreciation wasn't shown, like then it would impact my mood and it would impact what I did next and all that. And so it's that control and that illusion, but also that permanence of it. And it's like I had to stop and really self-reflect on why, not just why they don't appreciate me, but why was I doing it? And that was a big like aha moment for me, because as soon as like I did some self-reflection and realized, that I was doing it because I wanted to do it and it was the right thing to do, then it allowed me, like you said, that where I was up here with the disappointment and the things that were controlling way too much of my thoughts, it allowed some of that to dissipate, because it's like I was doing it for the same reasons, but I wasn't expecting something else because I was doing it. So it's like me making a choice to do something to help you. Like my expectation shouldn't be that now you have an expectation. And as soon as I allowed myself to like work through that, it changed just that my need to control someone else's response.
Yeah. Yes. I love this so much. So for me, again, and in the like the 12-step world or world of recovery, sober life, sober living, there's a common phrase which is like my next drink is rooted in my next resentment. My next where do my resentments come from? They come from my expectations.
Whoa.
Right. So what I heard you say, and folks, this isn't like a 12-step meeting.
And we're still all in recovery trying to figure ourselves out through these paths for sure.
But my biggest problem was the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what like my effort to control things was because I had to generate the expectation that I wanted. And if I release my expectations, guess what doesn't happen? I don't get this
down. Right.
I don't get resentment. I don't drink. Like it's and I think that little thing there can be helpful to all. And based on what you're saying, it sounds like, oh yes, this is actually what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jen, just so you know, we're not the only ones.
Oh, yay. Controllers unite. Thank you so much.
It's not, I mean, it's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
It's not me. It's not you. It is me.
Mia's like, oh man, y'all are hitting all the pain points already. Yeah, girl. Good. So we're not off track. So we got a couple, Ms. Sarah says, my weakness is seeing the pattern. Oh, we're going to go into this.
Yes, dig.
Seeing the patterns and assuming others can see it too. And therefore, it leads to my frustration when I don't slow things down and help them see it as well. Ooh. How does that land with you, Jen?
Well, it lands pretty solid, right straight in my heart, because I see a lot of things, and my rate of processing and identifying things and what's next, like that is one of my superpowers. And so when I'm doing that and everyone else is not doing it at the rate that I'm doing it, you know, it's easy for me to like look and go that they're slacking or they're lazy or that they don't care. Those are easy defaults for me because I'm like, let's go. And, you know, not everything functions at the rate that I function. And I think and companies don't function at the rate that I function, much less people, much less teams who have a lot of nuances and stuff. And so like being able to understand that just because this is my path and my rate and here's what we need to do. Like, I love that she says, not only can you pull hers back up, but it's not only slowing down to help them see it, but also like, do they even understand? And I think for me, it's like, because I understood it, then they should understand it. And because I was talking about it, then they should be exactly where I'm at. And like, no, none of us are. I'm not where you are. You're not where I'm at. There's times where we collide and we path and our paths cross, but like none of us are like on the exact same path and the exact same journey. And so like being able to like see that in a bigger picture, exactly what Sarah said, like that's big. That's an aha moment, because like we'll be in a room and it's just like, I said that 3 times. And I'm like, you and I just talked about this, that I can say things 6 times. And if I'm trying to control the conversation and I'm trying to dictate what's next, and the other people around me aren't comprehending and getting it and making their aha moments too, like I will say it 6 more times and they will continue to respond the way that they're responding.
Yes. So there's one word that you said a few times, and then there's another word in Sarah's comment here. The word that you said a few times was should. They should get it. They should understand. And I'm going to steal Angel, the curious idealist quote, because I got this from her. It's like, you shouldn't should on people.
Yep.
Like, and the reason it stands out to me, because it's a practice that I've had for a long time, is using the word should is an indicator of an assumption about an agreement and a commitment, right? Like Did I secure a commitment from this person? Did we agree to do the thing, or that we're on the same page? And when I don't, what do I say? I say should.
Yeah.
Like, you should. Like,
You should have
why?
read the contract.
Right.
You should have known that that was an expectation.
You should have got that. If I'm saying should, I'm shooting on people.
Yes.
And it's absence of a commitment and uncommunicated expectations.
Very much.
Bottom line.
Yep.
Right. Now, this assumption, like, so here's what I'm going to piss a lot of people off. So folks, let me know if you think I'm full of it, because sometimes I think I'm full of it. Where she says she sees the patterns and assumes others can see it too. That kind of sounds like common sense. What do you think?
Yes.
How many times do you find yourself thinking, and this question is for the lurkers and the tribe members out there in the omniverse, how many times do you find yourself saying, or even just thinking, well, it's freaking common sense?
Yes.
The fact that you're saying that is evidence that it ain't.
It's not.
And I feel like this idea of common sense is the way I give myself an out. It's a scapegoat for me to assume that everybody should know and think the way I do. What do you think, Jen?
No, I completely agree. And I think that we lean a lot into conversations around like every person's background is different. Their experiences are different. They're coming from, the different demographics, different socioeconomic places and stuff. And so I think as I continue to be in different places and ask better questions and engage with people, I realize that like if I expect anything or have any assumptions, then like that's on me. Because they are not like, I can't get onto them because their background and their experience and how they were raised was not how I was raised, or how I think someone should be raised, or how I'm raising my kids. I can't, if I'm making those assumptions, that has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with me.
Amen. And I think that's right. I don't think adopting that mindset for me freed me from a lot of my irritation, a lot of my frustration, a lot of all that stuff. Because when I take ownership for the language I use, for the assumptions that I make, etc., the static, right? Like the collateral damage of the way I interact and communicate with people is minimized, and I get to have more fun. And so, I just, there's a ton there, right, in terms of weaknesses. So we have another one from Mr. Daryl. Daryl says, and I know you know this, Live Jen, frustration from clunkiness of training adoption. It is their pace, not mine, my speed of delivery. Their pacing is not in my control. Deep breath to tame my impatience and fit into their world. What do you think about it? Thank you for that. That's big.
I don't know why this keeps coming back to me. No, I mean, okay, a couple of things resonated there. Is the sometimes like my uncommunicated expectations, but also my assumptions, and also just my need to yes and let's move on. Like that for me is because of the rate that I function and I want to keep moving. Like I have left some destruction in my path.
Oof. And
it wasn't because I was trying to get away from bad things. It was because I just left them there and they weren't completed. We didn't come to a resolution. I didn't fix it. We didn't come to an understanding. They just got left behind. And I am now still dealing with some of those pieces and parts that I left back there that I'm having to like reevaluate. I'm having to relearn and get unconditioned and things like that, and I had success, Jesse. Like I had like good things have happened because of what decisions I've made. And now like the self-reflection for me is like, okay, but what are the other things that like I left behind in the wake of that success? This is so hard right now because it's like I'm having to like not. I had this thought, and I'm going to say this out loud, which is so hard for me. Is I've messed up and I've made bad decisions, And I've done things that probably weren't the best thing for me to do. And in my mind, if I could go back, I'm not sure I would do them different.
Mm.
And that's scary because, like, I'm sure people got hurt, or I'm sure that things that, you know, I could have done better. But because of where I'm at and what I've been able to do and learn, like, I don't know if I go back and I undo something, I would still be able to be where I'm at, impacting the people that I'm impacting.
I'll say this. I feel you, Jen. I think maybe my hit. I think we have a shared experience in that we've discovered there's a different, more meaningful and deep way to serve,
Mhm.
and that brings an awareness of all the damage, the emotional damage that we've caused along the way.
Mhm.
Um, I also understand, like, why would I change that? Like, I had to learn that. I had to do it ugly. Just like kissing. Like my first kiss, I mean, it was pretty immaculate, but it wasn't my best one, right? I had to get I got a bunch more in since, and they're
Yes.
really, really good. You can check out my fans only page if you really want to. And I'm joking. I don't have one of those. I'm not going to share the link to that. But it reminds me of a quote that I think I got from Stephen Covey. Is like, you can be expedient with things, but you can't be expedient with people. And I think that's the rub. We try to be efficient with our time, but we're doing it wrong when we're doing it with people. So giving them space to talk and think and contribute and like roll around in the thing takes a little more time, but it's the appropriate thing to do.
Mhm.
But it's difficult because we want to accomplish and move on.
Mhm.
And the challenge with accomplishing, or the risk, I should say, shout out to Megan, because that's like, she's copyrighted the word, so thank you. The risk with being expedient with people is the emotional damage that we cause.
Yes.
And I'm also going to add this, Jen, because I feel like I can see that that's the weight you're wearing. You won't know the weight of that damage until you have the awakening.
Yes. 100%.
And then when you have the awakening, all that stuff that you did comes down, and it's okay, right? Like, actually, that's good because it's evidence that you're human. What do you think about that?
Yes. Yes. It's a weight, and it hits you because you've realized the things that have happened. And I think you and I talk about this a lot, and now I get to make a different choice.
100%.
And so it's like, yes, if we focus on everything that we've done, it hinders us from what's next. And good or bad, like things that have hurt. Like, I now get to make different choices every single day when I engage with my project teams, with my, my training classes. Every day I get to engage with people, and I get to make different choices that are not what I did before. And I can see how it's impacting people, and I can see that I'm allowing for that space. So, like, yes, I can own all of that, and it sucked, and I, probably could have done better. But I also know that I'm making different choices now that are impacting lives differently.
Yes, 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 yes. And again, I think the key takeaway there is the choice. We can choose to do differently. I like, Buddy has one, that one that I steal from him is like, we don't get do-overs, but we do get do-betters.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, do it better next time. You screwed it up, do it better next time.
Yes.
Austin Jones coming in from Facebook land. He says he really agrees with you, Jen. He's made a lot of mistakes in his early 20s, but because of those mistakes, he got to learn from them and be better today. So you don't, right? It's
hard though, right?
It is difficult. Mr. Ian Smith, what's up, Ian? Says good morning. So we got another one from Curious Idealist. She says, I haven't run into this in a few years, but I'm not sure if it's because I've gotten better or just gotten better of avoiding people who make me feel that way.
It may be a little of both.
I agree, right? I think, right, I'll speak from my experience. I know that when my behavior was abrasive, aggressive, self-centered. I ended up spending a lot of time around people like that. Like the people around me were that way. When I started changing or working to adjust, some of the people also started adjusting. Some of the people started leaving, or I had to leave their space. Like Carol says, you know, don't stay where your gifts are not appreciated. And so when you're going through this transition of improvement or personal growth or whatever, you got to be ready to like change the people. If you can't change the people, change the people. What do you think, Jen?
100%. And I mean, I think that in my mind, it's two. It's the spaces that we get to pick and choose where we are, and and either change the people around you or change the people around you. And it's also those spaces that, because of our jobs, because of our occupations, because of our family roles, like some of those places we don't get to pick. And so how do we show up differently? How do we go into those rooms with, sometimes we don't get to pick the people that are around us, and influence and impact and engage and do things differently? You and I talk about this all the time, but it's like the spaces that I'm in. I have been a proponent for the longest time of silence is agreement. Like that, I've been a proponent of that, because it's like, for me, in the rate that I function, I have no time to wait for someone to not respond. Okay.
Yep.
Now, whether it was good, bad, or different, that I have always been a proponent of silence is agreement. So if you don't jump in and you don't say anything, I'm moving forward, I'm making a decision. And if you didn't agree, sorry, you should have said something. What I have come to understand, based on a lot of my role with engaging with people and helping people understand inside my company, the culture, the value of people and things like that, and even in my own home, is that default for a lot of people is silence, because they've never been given a voice. They've never been listened to. They do not want to get attacked. They do not feel that it's going to matter either way. Like, that's the default of specifically in our industry, but also in our families, because of our roles and what we've had to do. And so I've had to shift from, yes, I'm in a room, and yes, I have a group of people that are brand new to this company and have never really engaged with me. And really, they're kind of figuring out, what their roles are. And by the end of that day, every person was able to stand up, was able to talk, was able to write on a sticky note, was able to connect with another person in the room. And so when they leave, I watch how they came in and how they leave. And that is how I measure the success, not that I was able to get all of my content and all of my knowledge into their brains, and now they're leaving and they're smarter and they're going to do better. Like I had to shift the way that if they're leaving and I see that they're like having conversations and connecting with other people, and their confidence rose during that because I valued what they said and they were able to speak and everyone had to listen. And like that, to me, it changed. And like that's it. And so I had to like grow and kind of change the way and transform the way that I looked at it. Like that was a lot for me.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. Because yes, we are, if I think back to my experience, which wasn't too long ago, in like school, middle school, high school, the rules are don't open your mouth, raise your hand, and speak when spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then all of a sudden we get in this professional space, particularly in construction. And well, I don't know about their leadership abilities, because they're not very outspoken.
Or we're gonna jump on Adams is like popcorn style, because popcorn style lets you know who the leaders are in the room. And I love Adam, but he knows that like yes, and there's other ways, because popcorn style, yes, we'll have those people that are outspoken jump up.
Yep.
But also those people that may have something amazing to say will not.
Yes, exactly. And so creating the conditions for people to take a little step closer to the edge, right? And speak out in public in front of a bunch of strangers and discover that the sky didn't fall down. That's
Yes.
big. Like that's more powerful than all the damn slides and the slide deck.
Yes. And it's
Right.
and when you can do it across the board. So every person in the room knows they're going to stand up, they're going to talk, they're going to write on a sticky, they're going to share, they're going to like there's not one person in the room that gets to sit in the back and observe and watch while everyone else is doing it. Like the expectation is every one of you are going to be a part of what's happening today. Every one of you are going to contribute. And when we leave here today, we're all going to be better. Like when you can empower a group to do that and then they leave and they realize like they contributed to what happened in that room. That's different.
Absolutely. Ian Smith, OG, says most of the time other people have similar questions or line of thinking, but it takes someone to be courageous to open up and speak up. 100%. And if you're facilitating the room, like our responsibility is to do like Steve says, be in complete control.
Where's Steve?
So Mia brings us a question, and I think this is a good one. And actually, I'm curious to know what the folks out there in the Omniverse think about it. She says, I feel like you guys have a really open, objective perspective, but so many people are more closed off. So how do you help the more closed off perspectives to become more objective?
You want to start?
I will start, yes. For me, the number one ultimate thing is always this. What are the behaviors I'm demonstrating? Right? If somebody's behaving in a certain way, my first assumption, which helps me, like most assumptions are bad, but rather most of my assumptions get me in trouble. This assumption is, I just assume that they're behaving in that manner because of they picked up a cue from me that it was okay to behave in that manner. And so once I make that assumption, it's like, okay, what could I have done that sent the signal that it was okay to be, closed-minded or super opinionated and, emotional or whatever you want to call it. And then it's like, okay, well, how can I change that going forward? Now, that doesn't mean that it's always my fault, right? Because some people really are just closed off. And so another thing that I do is consider two really important things that professionally and personally, it's very easy to forget. One is that nobody likes change. Nobody likes change, period, right? Now, it probably looks like I love change. I do, as long as it's not me that has to change, right? As long as everybody else, I'm good with that. If it's me that has to change my approach, like, I don't like that. The other thing is the person is getting some value out of that behavior. They're not doing it against me. They could care less about me. There is something, that behavior, that closed off, non-receptive or opinionated, one-sided perspective has served them in some way for a very, very long period of time. So that makes them human.
Yes.
And if I continue, so the choice often, like just very, very general, is if I attack them and say, why are you so closed off? Why can't you be objective? Why are you being emotional about this? That isn't helping. Calling a dummy doesn't make them like you and doesn't make them smarter, right? And I'm not saying those people are dummies, but what I'm saying is, instead of like labeling and attacking them, I could ask, like, okay, I understand your perspective. Tell me more about what you're thinking about. Like, where are you coming from with that? And how does that relate? And what's the value that it's bringing you? And how could other people get that? So, and what is that? That's me being objective. So I'm showing them what being objective looks like. I'm demonstrating it live and in the moment so that they have like a perspective of like, oh, that was weird. My defenses come down a little bit more, blah, blah. Anyways, that's generally how I approach it. What do you think, Jen?
Okay, so a couple of things. And I have realized that no matter what room I come into and I facilitate and I bring whatever plan and agenda that I'm coming into, if I leave and there is more connection from the people in the room to each other, then it's going to address that and help that. And so how do I do that? Because to me, yes, I can overcome this them to me, and they're resistant, or they're not open and things like that. But if I can create exercises, the environment to where they are connecting to each other, most of those people, when I leave, are still going to be in spaces with each other. And so for me, it's, the icebreakers, we talk about that a lot. Also, some of those exercises, and it's one magic sauce. It's how do I tap into the human part of them? And it's those questions that I'm going to tell you that are normally not 100% work related. But if I can tap into that and they can share, and then we can dig in as a group, or they have someone else that's like, that's mine too, and they get to start building that, then they start opening up about these other things where they would have been normally resistant, because that's the environment they've been raised in. That's the environment that they have worked in, that people don't care about anything other than the outcomes they produce. And as soon as one person asks a question, and for me, they're easy ones is, like, what's the first concert you ever went to? Like, that's so simple. But let me tell you, when you are in a room and the demographics are 5 different generations, and you got people talking about the Beatles, you got people talking about Motley Crue, Garth Brooks. Like, it doesn't matter, but you start seeing the connections, and you start seeing people having, all of a sudden these moments of like really digging in and making fun of somebody or laughing, but also like, hey, I was there, I saw that, and stuff like that. So that's a simple icebreaker one. The other one is, and I talk about this a lot, it's an exercise we do almost in every room that I'm in. It's like, what do you want to learn more about? Because no one normally asks people that. Yes, Joshua, Garth Brooks was mine too. But it's, what do you want to learn more about? And I do it very specifically. What do you want to learn more about within our company? Because there's people that may be in pre-con and want to know more about the field. There's people that may be in accounting, but want to know more about how we pursue work. Like, what do you want to learn more about inside our company? The other question I ask is, what do you want to learn more about outside of work? Mm-hmm. And that part is the magic sauce, because you got people, I want to be able to fly fish. I want to be able to brew my own beer. I want to learn how to play golf better. I want to learn, I want to do woodworking. And as those things start to bubble up, I'm going to say there's never been a time that someone else in the room didn't have experience with it. So then it's like, they want to learn how to brew their own beer. Hey, I do this. Or I want to be, like they start making these connections, and then we start having a conversation, and other people jump in. I want to be able to invest my money better. Well, I do investments, and I do this on the side. And so at that point, whatever else I talk about, like the stage has been set for everything else that we talk about, because now there's this connection and this environment that like they matter and that they care about each other.
Yes, you humanize, like. All of a sudden, we are similar. We are all human, because we have been to a concert, and we do want to learn something else, and we can contribute to each other. Yes. Genius. Yes. So Ian has a cheat code. He's got a dad joke book.
I love it.
That sounds like fun. So Sarah, to answer Mia's question, Sarah actually gives really great advice. Go through the emotional bungee jumpers. I love it. Like, to get practice on asking those open-ended questions, particularly like staying connected to the human being, right? Like that's the big magical outcome, is we get reps and learn how to do that. And important to understand perception versus perspective. I heard something about that. I think there's an audio book or something out. They made a very clear distinction between perception and perspective. Oh, I remember. Yeah, it was a CIA guy. Now, Miss Angel says, I don't agree with that statement. The statement I made about change, like nobody likes to change. People only don't like change if they don't see the value in. Truth. People love change when they see the benefit. Give a raise, that's a change, and they love it. So I'm going to disagree back, since you're not being open-minded and objective, Angel. Nobody likes a raise if it's just change. You get it? Like change, nickels and dimes. I'm just kidding. Great point, Angel. Yes, there are some when we can experience the value. Absolutely, we will change. So I stand corrected. Thank you for that.
But it has to be important to that person, right? Like it has to be like the change of more money in your bank account. That could be the change that some people are looking for. That could also not be as important to someone else.
Yes. So is the change about me or is the change about them?
Right.
And that there's the rub, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the rub. So we got, shoot, man, we've been going
Do it.
fast. Okay. So we talked a little bit about weaknesses and like gaps and problems. So I'm curious, folks out there in the Omniverse, like what skills are you working to build? And is it a weakness that you're trying to eliminate? Or is it a strength that you're trying to get compound gains out of? What do you think, Jen? Where are you on that?
Well, this one's easy for me just because I've touched on it a little bit earlier. Is the rate that I move and the rate, and you know this, the rate that my brain works is it's a lot faster than usually what's happening around me. And because of that, I just kind of push through and keep going. And so the skill that I've been working on very intentionally is one to like slow down a tiny bit. I can't say slow down a lot, but to talk less and listen more.
Ooh.
And so, and that is, it's been interesting because I've done it without saying I'm doing it. And the spaces around me and the things that people are sharing and their contribution into the whatever's happening, it makes me realize that I should have done this a long time ago. So I have to own that, like I monopolize the room. I think it's not so much that's like you're stupid, I know better. It's that like, well, let's get this done so we can move on to the next thing. Like that has been my rate of return is like move. But as I've slowed down a little bit, talked less, and listened more, it has created the conditions for other people to contribute and other people to share maybe their thoughts and their feelings that were not listened to before or were not valued or didn't really have a place before. And it's also, very humbling because I've created those conditions. So
I love that you're taking ownership. You didn't stop at it's very humbling. You said it's very humbling because I created those conditions.
I absolutely created those conditions.
Truth. I love it. I love it. So we got like the Jen fan club, Marsha. Maria says, and I've been following Jen's lead.
Yes, and she's been, and you can tell by her conversations and her contribution. I have seen it, Maria. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you the thing that I'm working on, and I'm waiting for other people. Come on, don't leave us hanging. About like
he's just ready for Jesse. You got to talk so they can say, "Oh, I'm with Jesse."
Why are you putting my name in there? Damn it! The skill that I'm working on, I'm going to do a poor job of describing it. But what I'm trying to do is figure out, rather get better or learn how to understand what other people appreciate about an experience that I appreciate. And so it's a little background. You're one of the victims of sweat equity improvement, and Sarah and Maria and several other folks out there are also in the emotional bungee jumper thing. I know how amazing that is, and I know how much I love about the thing. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about it, it's from what I appreciate and value from it, right? Which is outer space for most people. Yes. And so understanding what other people appreciate about it is what I'm trying to figure out. Ooh. And it's hard. Like for real, it's phone calls. And I find myself, so I'm having a call and I'm taking notes, I'm listening, like, oh, that's awesome, that's awesome, that's awesome. And the first call, I'm looking at my notes and I'm translating what they said towards closer to what I think. I'm like, stupid, that's not the point of the call. And so like figuring, like that's the skill that I want to build, is not just getting feedback, because that's easy. Understanding what other people value about something that I appreciate is, I don't know if that's splitting hairs too much, but that's where I'm at.
Jesse, that is so, I love, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's also when I heard what you just said, and then tell me if this happens to you, but I also am listening to what they're saying and already creating the actions for what needs to happen next. And I need to not do that.
I used to do that. No,
Okay.
now it's like,
Okay.
I just, okay, what do you think? How's that going to go?
I'm still working on that.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, it happens. It's just, but it's like, whatever. Yeah. Just ignore it. I don't need to jump on that. It's most about them.
Yes.
Oh man, we got some shares. You
have more reps than I have, so I'm at the beginning of trying to do better at the listening part.
Well, great point. Because I have been working on it. Let's just say 5 years. It's probably 5 years, and I had coaching. Like, it's not something I just decided to do. I had coaching. I had observation. I had people help me point and say, Jess, turn your brain off. Right? Where are you right now? Like, what do you mean? Like, my mind was in the future. Where are your feet? Oh, they're okay. Bring your mind back to where your feet are.
Oh, like that.
Right? Like there was a lot of work that I did, so that now I can feel my brain like, okay, go run wild. What else are you thinking, Jen? Right? Like it helps me stay connected here and help connect with where they're at. So we got 2 big comments in here. So I'm just going to read them because they'll cover our face.
Okay.
Ian says 2 things that he's working on: asking the right questions to help people self-discover without leading them to the answer, which I think is what we're talking about. Amazing. Having the right insight or comment at the right time. And then, another one, refining, he added a 3rd one, refining my storytelling capabilities so that when people I have speaking engagements, I leave people inspired, encouraged, wanting to be better.
Nice. Solid. Good job, Ian.
The one thing I'm going to throw this out there. The word right is one that I don't get hung up on.
Okay.
Meaning having the right question or having the right answer. I just embrace, I have my answer and I have my question that's about them, not me. Because the idea of right, like there's only one option, for me, like it wraps me up, it gets me twisted. Instead of like, this is what I believe, this is what I experience, this is what I feel, I can speak more, I can be more real about that than I can about, the right answer that's in Encyclopedia Britannica, if anybody even knows about encyclopedias anymore, right?
Well, doesn't Maria also have like the next right thing? Like the next right. It doesn't mean it's like the perfect thing, but in this moment, what's the next right thing? I think she uses that term as well.
Yes. Oh, we got my cousin Francisco Duron Jr. What's up, man? He says, I only have 3 employees, but I started having monthly meetings as a group to keep everyone on the same page. I often find myself trying to control my delivery, as my mentality is nobody cares, work harder. Same, bro. I solved this problem in 2 ways. We got some advice coming in from Facebook land. 1, explaining where I'm coming from by wanting for their progress and improvement so they can advance in the company. Awesome. And where I'm trying to take the company. 2, one-on-ones where he allows his employees to voice their thoughts, feelings, and concern. Right? Like create the conditions for people to come in and do the thing.
Or let them be a part of the growth. I think that's awesome.
Yes. So it's not just about you making your gross margin on the thing, but it's also about contributing to the growth of your people. And both can be true, and they can feel it. They know when it's not, right?
Yes.
man, there's a whole bunch of, so we got Mr. Josh coming in, says, I'm trying to understand what the weaknesses are in the office side of construction to help build less stressful buildings and improving outside perspectives of our companies. Thank you, Josh. You know what's interesting? I think there's, I just had a webinar, and his name was Michael. He's a scheduling professional, right, in the construction space. He showed up to the webinar that was very field focused, like just field stuff. Mm-hmm. And his takeaway was like, oh, I can see how this field experience, virtual field experience, informs my job in the office. And now Josh is saying this, and it's funny because I had the inverse experience, right? I'm very proud of having come from the field and being that like I used to like work. But understanding the experience of the carpet dweller, the office, helps inform. Let me say clearer. If I want to make things better in the field, having an understanding of what's going on in the office helps that. The inverse is also true. If you want to make things like better in the office, go do some investigation and research in the field, because there's a through line 100% that you can't see from the office that I couldn't see from the scissor lift. I had to go live in the office for a little bit to say, ooh, okay, now I understand why these things are important and we need to do better at them in the field. Anyways, whatever, I don't know where that came from, but that's in my head.
Can I add something to what you just said?
Yes, and while you do that, I am going to put the link to the after party, because I feel like the after party is going to be fire.
Okay, so I kind of the whole in the office, in the field, I want to address that piece, because in the field, even though everyone has their own roles and their responsibilities, there is a lot of connectivity to make sure things get done. So if there's a constraint, if there's a schedule item, whatever it is, like the moving parts, they all kind of work together for the connectivity to be able to move that ship all the way through to the finish. What I've observed in our offices and in our departments is people have their roles and they have their responsibilities, and we struggle with the connectivity inside those departments. And so if my job is this, I'm at my cubicle, I'm at my desk, I make sure I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do. There is not a lot of space in an environment for that connectivity to the other person, not just across from me, but maybe down the hall from me. And so for me, that connectivity piece is what's missing, and what I have really tried to lean into and help, how do we create more of that? So that it's not just I come to work, I sit there, I do my job, and then I go home, where at the job, in the field, like they're in morning meetings, they're up, they're moving, there's activity going on. And we know when we're active, then our brain's more active and we're doing more things, and we're able to, have a little bit more collaboration, we're having more conversations. I don't see that as much in the office and in the departments. And that's where I think we have to lean into. And then leaning back to what Jesse said, then looking at how they even connect to each other. So how does accounting understand really their roles and what they're doing and their decisions within their team that is impacting what's happening on the job site? Whether it's billings being paid or invoices and things like that, like really understanding the connection between the two. So that's kind of what I've seen and observed, and really try to have more of those type of conversations.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm almost done.
Okay.
I think I got to go to Facebook. But we do have some new comments.
Okay.
Oh, they're all.
Yes, you always are allowed to say that. Always.
Gosh, always. Yeah, no, it's all up here. Curious Idealist says, in a lot of spaces, we don't build time for learning into the role. Then we wonder why people are operating in silos. Gangsta.
A whole nother conversation of like advancing people into roles that whether they want to be there or they're ready for. So that's a whole nother.
Yes. So Jen, before we went on, look here, finally my name is in the comments. Thank you, Sarah. Be more like Jesse. So before we went live, Jen, you were you showed me a book, flashed me a
yes.
book. What'd you get out of that book?
So one, this was recommended to me by Steve Olson, who works in our firm, and he was doing it within his department. So that's going back to Josh. This was a study action team that Steve was leading inside our government division. And so their team was doing a study action team, which is reading the book and then being able to get together and kind of discuss the takeaways. And he also sent it out to me and a couple other people, and hey, we're doing this if you want to do it with us. And it's Patrick Lencioni, which I've read a lot of his books, a lot of they're fable based. And so I read it, and I communicated this back to Steve. It blew my mind because the way he breaks down, it's called the six types of working genius. And the way that it breaks down kind of the things that you love is called your geniuses, the things that bring you joy, those things that you're competent in, that you can do, but you really don't want to do for like extended period of time all the time. And then those frustrations. So there's 6 of them, and you kind of take an assessment and it puts them, and here's your strengths here, here's your joy, your geniuses. And what it did when I finished, one, it was very accurate when I did my assessment, but it helped me stop and really look at all of these 6 geniuses and our teams and our departments and why. And I think my frustration sometimes is we've got people that are killing it and are getting stuff done. And then we have teams sometimes that are stuck and that they're struggling. And for us, we just go in, maybe it's a nail with a hammer. Maybe it's it's common sense, whatever those things are that we've talked about today. But this book helped me stop and look at sometimes the makeup of our teams and the people and the things that are their geniuses and the things that are their frustrations. If we don't even take into account, sometimes we can't dictate every person that's going to be on the team and how they're going to fit. But if we're not aware that we have a lot of people that are in that wonder, discernment, kind of, hey, asking a lot of questions, but we don't have those people that get things across the finish line, then I think we're doing them a disservice. And it's not that we can just fix all the teams, but if there's a weakness there and we can't lean into that and go, hey, this team's going to struggle. So what are we putting in place? What processes are we putting in place that are going to help offset some of those things? I mean, to me, it blew my mind because it allowed me to look and see differently than just they're not doing this because of this or they're not getting this done. It allowed me to look at sometimes people lean into the things that bring them joy and they procrastinate the things that just frustrate them. So
I love it. And so that, like, there's the answer to the question we posed. So 70 minutes later,
just 70 minutes.
Just 70 minutes later, we're talking about strengths and weaknesses and all these other things. And Tribe, thank you so much for all the thoughts, ideas, questions that you contributed. You made this amazing. The energy, I'll say, this is what I do. Instead of like trying to close the gaps on all my weaknesses, because I got chingos, like a lot of them. It's going to take so much damn energy. And I think Lance actually had a post on one of his newsletters about how much more value can I deliver if I'm going from 1 to 3 compared to going from 7 to 9 on a strength. And so based on that book and a lot of the other thinking is I am going to invest on my strengths. I'm going to make them good. And you know what? I'm going to invite other amazing freaking people in the world that have the strength where I suck. Like that's how I needle.
Yes. We don't have to be the ones to fill all the gaps. Like we can surround ourselves with people that enjoy doing the things that we don't like to do.
Oh, look, Steve's already starting crap here. He says his after party thought is going to be, what's my true north? In terms of what needle are we talking about? The needle on the compass. I love that. Absolutely. All right. So folks, I dropped the link for the after party and all the things. If you want to come hang out, nobody's going to see your face. It's just audio. We want to hear your thoughts, what you got from this conversation, what you weren't able to contribute, come and dump it in there. Or you can just listen. Some folks are like busy with family and stuff. you can just listen and we'll keep moving forward. So I'm gonna come at you for a closing thought, Jen, but there's a few comments I want to kind of recap.
Yeah.
So Austin Jones asked, have you ever read The 7 Habits? My dad loved it, but I have yet to get into it. So Austin, your dad turned me on to The 7 Habits. And I will be grateful to him he did so much for me in my life. His father did one of my mentors, person that helped me see life differently. What the hell's wrong with you, boy? Go read the book.
Go read the book.
Come on, man. What you doing, boy? Miss Curious Idealist Angel says, you shouldn't should on yourself either.
Oh, nice.
That's messy. That takes a lot of cleanup. No, like be clear of the expectations, secure commitments, and keep on rolling. Daryl, again, this is a nugget that I think we need to kind of recap so people can take it home, is saying that it's common sense, they should have known. That's a cop-out, especially in a leadership role. And I think you hammered on that when you're like facilitating and so forth. And then Mia says, what she's hearing is strong communication skill set is a key. Being able to recognize cues and navigate accordingly.
Yes.
And I'll say, I'm going to add a little Jesseism there. Forget about the message sending part of communication, because we're all pretty damn good at that. It's not that. It's the receiving, the listening, the seeing. Receiving is the thing that makes the difference. When you hear the word communication and I'm using it, I ain't talking about mouth noise. I'm talking about receiving the energy, the message, the ideas, the insecurities, the unspoken stories that the person has within them so that I can better serve them. Closing thought, Jennifer Lacey.
Yeah, so in the spirit of it being Easter weekend, because I know how much you are, hone on the holidays, I'm just going to task all of you with a lot of our conversations today and things I'm even continually dealing with is like have grace for yourself and for those around you. And and it's both, because we screw up and we've got to be able to give ourselves some grace and hey, we're learning, we're growing, but also those around you. Like when you're in a moment, whether you're about to get defensive or you're about to respond, just take a moment, take a breath, and just remember, we've got to give grace too, because sometimes we don't know what's going on in the other people's lives around us. So that's it.
Yes. And I'll tack on, give yourself some grace. Be kind to yourself. That's all. Yes. 5 minutes. We will be on the after party. You better show up because we need to